Well, it sounds benign, you know, it was 3%, started out at 4, went down to 3. There's a whole lot of waste in that department. They have 35 take-home vehicles in wastewater. 35. What the heck? They run that place 24 hours a day. They have employees on site. Why does somebody need a vehicle to take home? I don't know, maybe the manager, I could see maybe a couple of folks in case there was an emergency. But end of the day, we all have our own vehicles, and if I have to go to an emergency for the board, I drive my car. But you know, I can agree, maybe there should be a few of them there, but end of the day, these vehicles are being used for personal use, going back and forth to work. You got the clerk of the board, the county attorneys, their business is downtown in Pima County. Why would they need a vehicle full-time? They come to Pima County, they're in the courts, they're in and out. There's a lot of that kind of abuse. I think we have 1,600 vehicles in Pima County that you're paying for. And I'll get you that, you know, I'll verify that number, but it's in the neighborhood of 1,600. And, you know, Sheriff's Department, undercover vehicles, absolutely. Board of Supervisors with undercover vehicles, what the heck? We shouldn't be driving around in an undercover vehicle. It should have a Pima County seal. You see us in the community, you know we're there. Why all the undercover? And there's a reason for that, because people are using them for personal use, and that it is allowed, and it shouldn't be allowed, in my opinion, and they shouldn't even have cars, because I was doing a whole lot of town halls, I did 50, and I started, you know, thinking, first of all, it's kind of obscene. I had a car. It was given to me when I went down there, like, look, you drive in as Supervisor row, we pay for our own parking, but you drive in there and an employee comes up, takes your car, goes and washes it, waxes it, gasses it up for you. You know, it's like we were kings and queens. I finally go, this is so obscene. I have to turn this in because we don't need them. You know, the first year I wasn't sure because, you know, I didn't know how many miles we'd be putting on. And now, you know, I drove around the community and I go, I'm over here anyway, why am I charging the taxpayers? You know, I gotta run an errand, I'll do that when I'm over there doing a town hall, and that's kind of the way I've been doing it. I haven't even turned in mileage reports because of that. You know, it's, we're being paid a salary of $76,500 a year, and you're paying that. It is statutorily defined. If we can't provide our own vehicle, there's something wrong, especially when the median wage in Pima County is about $44,000 a year and people are hurting. So this is something that needs to change, and that's why we need this woman back here on your radar. Then Lou already talked about the hand count on it. Oh, right here, wastewater increase. It did get voted 3-2, and I made the motion to deny the increase. Ray Carroll and Sharon Bronson voted with me. However, they voted to spend $1 million on a building for the wastewater department for a repair center out near the conveyance center on Dodge Boulevard. And they also voted for a $4.1 million lab that we didn't need, but we're going to build it and the U of A will use it until we need it. And I went round and round with Huckleberry, I don't know if you were there that day, and said, well, you know, testing of fish, you know, using fish to do testing. I said, how did we do it before? And I kept asking him, and he doesn't answer. He's like a watermelon seed. And he finally goes, labs. And it appears, based on that conversation, that we outsource the testing up to Phoenix. And it isn't mandated. So when we wanted to do this special testing, it goes to Phoenix. There's labs. Like, why are we building a lab? We can't afford to fix our roads. Why are we doing that? So, and the wastewater rates have gone up, skyrocketed. If you're anywhere in Pima County other than Marana, you are on Pima County wastewater unless you have a septic. Various water companies do our billings for us. You know, they voted for these. The more obscene thing about that $1 million building for a garage to repair vehicles, and I wish I had the picture with me, you paid for an $18 million 20-bay repair center that Pima County built and opened in December of 2014. And if you email my office, we'll send you the link so you can see it. It's LEED certified. It's a beautiful facility with 20 bays that hold a road grader. And we buy all the test equipment for all the various vehicles. We have to train the technicians on all the various test equipment. And when the new vehicles come out and that test equipment doesn't go with it, guess what we have to do? Buy new equipment. Does anybody think outsourcing that might have been a good idea? The obvious thing to outsource? But no, they built that $18 million facility, which is really, really expensive because it's LEED certified. Has showers and nice rooms for the employees. They have showers, and I went, showers for the employees? What? I mean, do you think I don't know, I don't think Jim Click provides showers for his employees at his repair centers, but 20 bays for a county. Absolutely obscene. And they still voted to allow, and the reason they built this facility, they said we have repair facilities all over town, and we want to consolidate them in one place to get efficiencies. Then here we are, 6 months later, I want to buy this building next door, $1 million, and the first thing the guy said to me, I said, $1 million for a building, wait a minute, for repairs, we have a repair center. Well, they don't want to drive down a Mission Road, which is where it's located. And that was the response. Lou was there, and the building immediately, when I started questioning, he goes, well, we're going to need to put a roof on, that's about $50,000, and this is the wastewater guy doing the construction estimate, so I didn't have a lot of confidence in that number. I'm anxious to hear, because when you do a repair center, you know you got to do all of the infrastructure underneath the floor to be able to take care of all the fluids and oils and stuff. So, but they voted for these, and then because it's an election year, they voted no on the wastewater rate increase. You can rest assured your bills will go up after the election if those three are still in there. And again, we got the hand count audit, stopped the bond election, huge. What we need to be doing is attracting private sector investment. Economic development should be on our radar. And as you can tell, it isn't happening for us. We need to have lower property taxes because right now we have the highest property tax rate in the state. We're $4.39 in our primary rate per $100 of assessed value. Maricopa is $1.32 per 100 of assessed value. And when a business comes in, I explained to someone earlier, the multiplier for a business is 18. For a residence, it's 10. So they're almost twice as high the taxes that you are paying on your residence. So they're looking at where can I get my business? I'm going to be paying property taxes, and where can I locate and compete? In this bond package, one of the reasons I was against it, there were a whole lot of taxpayer-funded incubators of data centers. The most obscene one was the one for the University of Arizona campus research. They have the old IBM plant out there, and they formed a nonprofit to run that facility, and they lease to IBM, Raytheon, all the businesses that are out there. And we pulled up there, went to GuideStar, pulled up there in 990s. They bring in about $12 million a year in revenue, and you were being asked to build a $10 million road within that facility for them, and that was going to get the priority. And you were also being asked to give them $20 million for a tech park. And guess how much property tax they pay? Zero, because that nonprofit is formed as a part of an educational facility. And there's a whole lot of issues with universities competing with private sector businesses. There's been a lot of lawsuits, there's advocacy groups. I'm doing some research on that. But this would have, think about the private sector, if they had got that 20 million, built a tech park, and there's 4 million square feet of available industrial space in Pima County right now that is vacant. And it was private developers that came in and invested because they believed this town was going to grow. Can you imagine being the guy that has that vacant space? His property taxes get jacked up to fund the guy that's competing with him that doesn't pay any property taxes. I mean, this was going to be the death knell. So we have to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, it all sounds nice, public-private partnership and all of that, but you're picking winners and losers, and we can't go down that road. We're already down there partially, but we got to stop it. Climate that promotes development. Development services did get streamlined. I think there's some improvements there between there and flood control to make sure the permits go through more quickly, but they're doing a pretty good job over there. Problem is, no one's coming in to invest in our community, and that was one of the phrases you heard. We have to invest in ourselves. Well, of course, if you're giving away and you're funding the winners and losers, do you think the private sector is going to come and invest in us? So that was, I found that very jarring when I kept hearing that. slogan. We've got to stop lawsuits and impeding private sector business. And I know a lot of you don't like Rosemont, but there's a lawsuit there. And the Dallas Firefighter Fund, they came in and bought the Painted Hills area. They bought a bunch of land in good faith, thinking they were going to invest there, be able to develop it, and make some money for the firefighters in Dallas. Pima County and Tucson Water wouldn't allow them to have water to the site. It basically made the site worthless to them. And Pima County bought it for about $7.5 million the first day of the fiscal year, along with the soccer dirt that they bought. So they spent about $16 million. For $7.5 or $8.5 million, I get the numbers flipped on those two, but they bought it for open space because Chuck wanted it. And so this firefighter fund, you go to the Dallas newspaper, you read the articles, and it's those fools. I can't believe they invested in Pima County. Everybody knows if you go to Arizona, you invest in Maricopa County. This is the kind of stuff that I'm finding out there on Pima County, so it is not helping the private sector want to come into here. Star Valley, it's a development out on the southeast side. The board voted to de-plat. It had been platted years and years ago, and as you know, there are big plats that individual builders come in and they develop. You know, you'll get like a Richmond American here and an A.F. Sterling here. And I think it's Lennar Homes was ready to go and start building a whole plat area because the board, somebody on the board had a conflict with the individuals that developed that place. Now it's on hold. A whole bunch of tax revenue, not expanding our tax base, that is not going to happen. And there's a lawsuit filed. State of Arizona, the 1% constitutional cap to protect you that was voted on in 1980. I'm sure in your tax bill you got Chuck's little chart blaming it on the state instead of taking responsibility that we've raised your taxes and not spent the money wisely. A whole lot of money was spent on that. We're suing the state of Arizona. They immediately went to a special action at the Supreme Court, sued. The judge threw it out, and Pima County had to pay the state of Arizona's legal fees. And what does Chuck do? And we had spent close to $100,000. I don't know what the state's final number was, but we have to pay them already. So what does Chuck do? He immediately goes back to the Superior Court, and there's going to be a whole lot of money spent getting all the way back up. And I'm guessing you'll probably end up spending about $1 million suing over a constitutional amendment. Does anybody think we're going to win that one? I don't. So it was already tossed out, and a bike ranch was going to go up on the east side. The lady owns the land. I forget how many acres it is, quite a bit of acreage over by Saguaro Park East. She had $15 million of private investment to build this bike ranch. This is another one that blows my mind. I don't know why, but Ray Carroll showed up at a meeting and killed her bike ranch. Just stopped it. So she's dead in the water. And that's investment. And I thought we were about the biking community, the loop and all that we've invested in. Catalina out on the far northwest, that's in my district. Alberto Moore put forth a plan to develop 24 homes. And no objections from the neighbor. It's a very blighted area if you've ever been out there. It needs improvement, needs development. No objections, no issues with anything from any of the staff. Ray made a motion to deny. And so Alberto Moore, who had invested a lot of money in these plans, lost out. And you lost out because our tax base didn't expand. We don't have those 24 homes, productive, paying revenue into the county, tax revenue. So if you ask me why I can't work with Ray Carroll, you've heard several examples. And it's really unfortunate that he doesn't come around and do the right thing. And he hasn't the whole time I've been there. What we need to be doing is fixing the roads, and I mean not rhetoric, action. And I know that's the message that we got. The gas tax, we've gotten on average $53 million per year for the last 10 years. And most of you probably didn't realize when you voted on those 1997 $350 million worth of road bonds that you were also voting to pay for those road bonds with this gas tax money that is meant for road repair.